him up off waivers. That might be where he is too at the moment. Isaiah Spiller. So the RB4 on ETR, I think he's the most common RB3, but like I said, RB3 is where you start to see some parity as far as ranks go. I think the hype on him has gone the other way, has gone from mostly positive to a lot of negativity after not not the best combine. I think his detractors would say, well, he's not even the best running back on his team, which it might not be wrong, and that might not be a knock on him. There's a guy on his team who's going to be a stud coming out in 2023, and it's the reason Spiller was not a workhorse in college. He only had 42% of that backfield's carries, which compared to these other guys, like he didn't even top 200 carries last year, and these other guys, Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker in particular, like shattered that. Like we're up the upper 200s. So he wasn't that type of workhorse. He doesn't have great vision as a runner in gap. Let me get this right. In gap schemes, but in zone schemes, that is his bread and butter. So this is probably the first guy that you really look at and think, okay, his landing spot is really going to determine how I feel about him. If he is in the right spot and the right system, he's got the footwork, he's got the patience. I think he's got like the athletic chops. Like I think he kind of falls victim, not that he's Dalvin Cook, but like it's kind of the Dalvin Cook syndrome where it's like, well, the things he does well, like athletically, don't show up on the combine testing, but he is still a very good athlete, good cutter, good at a lot of things. And I could see him, if he ends up in a great spot for him, having like a Michael Carter kind of rookie season.
Yeah. I used to not like Isaiah Spiller, and when I was kind of researching for this podcast, I came around to the idea of him. His best skills are his patience and his vision, which that really matters for his landing spot. So I think that's going to dramatically alter how I feel about him, because if you watch any of his plays, he's really good at playing behind the line of scrimmage and then finding the right hole, which is obviously why he works good in zone schemes. He's also the youngest back in this class. We said a lot of old guys. He's going to be 21 when the season starts, so he has time to come around. And he was second in the NCAA last year in avoided tackles, which is at 24%. And I mean, if you know me and Evan, we really try to target those guys. Last year it was Stevenson. 2 years ago, it was Nick Chubb was another guy, Kareem Hunt.
Well, I think was it broken tackles or missed tackles forced? I don't remember which stat it was, but basically Michael Carter and Javonte Williams were like, like Javonte 1 and Michael Carter was maybe 2 or 3. It was like, and those guys were not like layup, like top 2 or 3 backs in the class last year, but obviously that was a stat that loved both of them. Whichever stat it was, I can't think of it, but loved both of them last year.
Yeah, and I think that's where he's good. I am always skeptical of when a guy's draft position falls because of the combine, because I mean, the combine doesn't test you don't wear pads when you run a 40. You don't wear pads when you do your 3-cone. I mean, DK fell into the second round.
He ran a 4.6 340 for anyone who wants to know like specific numbers on that, which is not great. But again, like I don't know what Dalvin Cook's 40 was, but that was the whole Dalvin Cook thing. And it's like, oh, like actually this guy's just a different kind of athlete. He's not just like a straight line sprinter.
Yeah.
Not like some of these guys, I guess.
Well, he came out and he even did it again in his pro day and he was bad. And I mean, pro days usually, they give you something. But before the all-star behind him came around at A&M, his freshman year, he was 24% of their offense. So he's still, as a first year in college, he was relatively good. He had 103 yards per game over his entire career. I mean, the guy has all of the intangibles. And I mean, if it wasn't for his pro day, he would probably be a lot closer to the consensus. I'm not going to knock him off for that, but I think right now you can get him at a discount in the second round, and landing spot dependent, he's probably a good bet to hit on that, I think, at least compared to some of the other guys going around that range.
It's really funny. I have his combine and his pro day stuff in front of me. His arms are measured a half inch shorter at his pro day than at the combine. And his wingspan is almost a full inch longer at his pro day than the combine. I don't understand how exactly that's possible. Like how, like I know how it's possible. People are fudging the numbers, but it's like, come on, guys, like just just straight up measurements. We can't even just get consistent measurements on how long this guy's arms are. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny, again, like Evan and I were saying, after the top two, this gets really weird. Dan Brugler, who's at the Athletic, has Spiller as the 55th overall prospect, and then Daniel Jeremiah has him as the 33rd overall prospect. I mean, he's probably one of the sharpest contrasts between a lot of guys. I don't think a lot of draft analysts love Rachaad White like a lot of fantasy people do. But when it comes to like real draft guys, I think Isaiah Spiller is kind of polarizing.
He is the Athletics RB3. So even though he's like 55 or whatever you said, he's still the RB3